Welcome back. We are now seeing so many things happening all at once in the crypto space, as in my view, we are in the end stages, whether it's now, whether it's in 3 months or 6 months. We will be in some type of corrective phase at some point. And so where does that leave us in crypto? Because the deal is, I'm not bearish on everything forever. I'm bearish to play this cycle out. And to play the cycle out, we need to come down before we can go even higher. And this goes for many cryptos, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of these strategy companies that are building their digital asset treasuries in a stock market formation. We're going to be talking about XRP, MicroStrategy, Bitcoin, Ethereum, DeFi, and the overall crypto ecosystem to understand where we should be putting our investments, or at least looking at investments in these categories to understand what is the best investment for us. And as I always say, this is not financial advice. These are just my opinions and analysis on the market. I obviously could be wrong. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Also give the video an absolutely free thumbs up. You can also help support the channel financially by leaving a super chat down below in the comments, or clicking the join or subscribe plus button here on YouTube to learn more about channel membership. Thanks to all of our channel members and all the longtime viewers that constantly give us thumbs up. Anyway, we're going to start right here. The NASDAQ has filed with the SEC to allow trading of tokenized securities on their platform. They're starting to see that traditional financial institutions are kind of capitulating. And now we're starting to see the tokenization, where these private companies like Galaxy Digital are then going and tokenizing their stocks on chain. And now the mega indexes, right? The mega stock markets, they want in on this. And this is obviously bullish for crypto in the longer term, because that means more things are going to be tokenized on the blockchains, more usage means more revenues means more movement of the coins, hopefully brings valuation to the individual cryptos in the market. And then as those are valued up, price goes up. But that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video, because a lot of people seem to be misinterpreting valuation for the underlying value. And this goes with MicroStrategy. This goes with all the Ethereum and Bitcoin treasury companies. We have Solana treasury companies now. But understanding that, something could be valued, like you could have a vehicle that is worth a lot of money, but there's only a few people in the world that would pay that type of money for that vehicle. And so although it's worth a lot, the liquidity is not there to liquidate. And so if you really did need to sell that vehicle, let's say it was $1 million car, right? And it's still worth $1 million, but there's maybe only, a few hundred people on earth that would actually want that vehicle for $1 million, or would be willing to pay for it. And so if you want that $1 million, you got to find those people, to buy the car. And if they're not buying it, you have to lower the price to incentivize somebody else to buy it and arbitrage that opportunity. And that's what we're seeing in the market. That's what we're seeing in these own digital asset treasury companies like MicroStrategy. And we're going to be talking about MicroStrategy a little bit later in this video, because I know a lot of you are exhausted, as am I. But again, the rest of the market is not seeing the risk. This is the same thing that happened in the previous cycle, where people didn't see the risk of what was going on. I mean, if we look at the Bitcoin price, I want you guys to see this, because this is really important. We're going to go to CoinMarketCap. This is really important to understand for, understanding what my thesis is on this cycle and why I believe that it's kind of like, the cycle's pretty much over. If you look at what happened in 2021 and 2020, the main run-up was at the end of 2020 into 2021. And we saw massive moves in the market from January into March of 2021. I don't know if you guys remember it, right? It was Cardano was going like high like crazy. We were seeing a lot of movement. Coinbase listed Cardano. We were seeing Coinbase getting ready to IPO. Like there were a lot of things happening, right? And then we started to drop after April. So from April until about July, we dropped. And then we went up for the final run-up. A lot of the final run-up is, people buying this, and then the illiquidity in the markets pushing the markets much higher. But at this point, in the parabolic banana zone, as Raoul Pal calls it, this happens very, very rapidly. But I want you guys to see what's been going on this cycle. Okay, so again, 2020 into 2021, we went up all the way through April. And then we started to come down for about half a year. Now, if we zoom in a little bit further up here, right, a lot of people thought we were going to have a delayed cycle. But as I've been saying since the previous cycle, this cycle is actually earlier because the Bitcoin halving occurred 1 month earlier than it did in the previous cycle. And so if we look at what happened here over the last 1 year in the Bitcoin price, we saw the run up occurring into January. And then January into March, we went lower. So this means that January is about 3 to 4 months delayed from the previous cycle's April top. Or I should say, not delayed before. So whatever, early, I guess you could say. Okay, so in the previous cycle, because everyone keeps talking about previous cycle. I showed you guys a video in July of Saifedean Ammous on a Bitcoin podcast, and he's a well-known Bitcoin advocate and expert. And he said, we're getting towards the end of the cycle. And the host, who's another Bitcoin podcaster, was like, wait, in the previous cycle, we were here, so we should actually be much higher. You think that the cycle's over? And was like shocked that Saifedean Ammous was like, yeah, the cycle is pretty much over based on days from the halving cycle or from when the halving occurs. And again, I believe that we're earlier. And everyone keeps saying extended cycle. No, the extended cycle, there is no extended cycle. Are we going to have another bull run? Are we going to come down in the market and then go higher? Of course. And so if we go higher before the extended cycle's over, and I'm not talking about higher prices from where we are, right? Bitcoin all-time record high is about 125,000. Maybe we'll hit 150,000. Who knows? But is that worth holding the coins for an extra maybe 10 or 20% jump when the drop could be 50, 60, 70, or 80%? Again, people are not seeing the risk here. And so again, previous cycle, the top at the beginning of the year was in April, and then we came down. We are 3 months before that in this cycle. And so in the previous cycle, when did we top out in the market? We topped out in November. November minus 3 to 4 months would be October, September, August. So anywhere between July and August, or maybe even July and September. That is why my thesis has been we are at the top of the market. And I've been saying this for over a month. And people are like, Cryptoviser, you're just saying it over and over. That way, when it is the top of the market, you could say, see, I told you so. It's like, no. The reason I'm telling you is because when we do hit the Pico top, you're not going to know that it's the Pico top. And so you have to use the market as a guide for where we're going. But I keep hearing Cryptoviser. But look at what the SEC is doing. They're going to tokenize these security. Yeah, but this is going to take years, guys. It's going to take years. Meanwhile, we are seeing Bitcoin stalling in this $100,000 to $120,000 level, and a Fed rate cut may not spark a rally, according to analysts. Now, you guys have to remember, the market prices these things in. So even if the Federal Reserve cuts rates by 0.5 percentage point, it's priced in already. And what if they don't raise lower interest rates? Or what if they lower it and then say we're not going to lower again or whatever? Because according to the data that they use to, move interest rates, the data is still pretty good. And so I think that there's just a lot of anticipation. It's the same thing with MicroStrategy getting listed on the NASDAQ, right? Or in the S&P 500 index. Like, everybody was anticipating this. I'm like, guys, it's already priced in. And now we're going to be talking a little bit more about MicroStrategy in just a little bit. But before we go there, again, I'm getting a lot of this. Well, what about what they're doing in Hong Kong? They're also offering crypto staking services. I also heard Hashkey just applied for some kind of digital asset treasury company. But focus not just on these companies that are buying. Now, this one was from April, but there's more recent news about Hashkey. This is that article. It says Hong Kong's Hashkey to launch $500 million digital treasury fund. And people are like, but Cryptoviser, this is so bullish. This is so bullish. I'm like, no, this is the exit liquidity. Like, people keep saying, but Cryptoviser, retail hasn't even joined the party yet. Retail is the exit liquidity. It's like, you guys are missing the point. Like, the markets are not predictable. The markets don't move just because you think MicroStrategy should be included in the S&P 500. There's literally thousands of other companies and thousands of other maximalists and other companies that don't think that it should be. And so just because you think that it should be included doesn't mean it will be. Just the same reason that just because this is something to be bullish about, yeah, it is bullish. But in the market cycle, this is where the billionaires are taking their profits. A lot of people think that that's not happening, but even in Ethereum revenue dropped 44% in August amid Ethereum all-time highs. Now, why is this? Why is Ethereum revenue dropping? Because there's no fundamental usage of Ethereum. The Ethereum treasury companies are just buying the coins, and they're buying it through private sales, right? So these are not even happening on the order books. This is why we're not really seeing much price movement in Bitcoin or Ethereum based on these treasury purchases. Same thing with SWI, same thing with Solana. There's a little bit of price movement, but not much. But if we look, again, go to DeFi Llama and you look at Ethereum and the number of Ethereum that are in DeFi, it's dropping. And it's been dropping since April. What was April? In the previous cycle, April was the all-time high. This cycle, it was the basic low for the year. April, I think the beginning of April was, or June, whatever, around that time, the beginning of the year. And so we're seeing a drop in Ethereum DeFi. Look at Solana. Solana, we are seeing what do you call it? Like a evening out, right? A topping pattern showing, right? We had all this acceleration and now it's starting to slow down. If we look at some of the other chains, I would imagine we're probably going to see, this doesn't show us. You want to make sure that you're clicking the individual crypto, not USD terms. You could see, look, Tron, since 2023, massive reduction. Coinbase, I would imagine, is increasing, yeah. Arbitrum, very hard to kind of tell. It's been up and down, up and down. Let's look at SWI's DeFi. And these are new chains, but you can kind of see it's kind of tipping over. And when you see tipping over in DeFi, right, we saw tipping over in Ethereum staking, but now we're starting to see restaking, which shows us that these were whales selling their coins to these digital asset treasury companies, but these are not real sales, right? You guys get it. So the thing is, Ethereum revenues dropped, even though Ethereum was reaching all-time highs, because Ethereum purchases are driving the price, not the fundamentals. The fundamentals are good for Ethereum, don't get me wrong, but we're not seeing adoption of the technology. We're seeing adoption of the cryptocurrency. Now, obviously, over time, I think that the first avenue with anything is investment, and then you see deployment of capital to then go build into that investment. But again, this is going to take time. So the price movement that we're seeing is not because people are adopting the technology of blockchain or Ethereum or DeFi. They're not. I mean, there is more adoption than there ever has been, but it's not like Wall Street is adopting it. They're adopting the coin. They're adopting trading of the coin. And so really, if you think about that, that's bearish. The building that's going to occur from these investments, that's going to take time and probably setting us up for the next cycle. But this cycle, I mean, if you look at all the data, it's effectively over. And even Michael Saylor has said, volatility is a gift, because he's telling you this is the exit liquidity if you want to get out of the market at higher prices, because you may not get the opportunity next year or in 6 months or in 3 years, because some cryptos that were doing extremely well, that were in the top 5 cryptos in the world in previous cycles, are no longer even around. They went to zero. Now, I'm not saying these are going to go to zero, but there's a potential that they're going to significantly drop, right? Galaxy Digital, Jump Crypto, and Multicoin lead Forward Industries' $1.65 billion Solana treasury raise. So again, what happened in the last cycle? All these billionaires were talking about Terra Luna, FTX, FTT, Terra Luna, FTX, FTT, Voyager, Celsius, BlockFi. These are the best products in the world. None of them even exist anymore. They're all gone. Terra Luna's gone. FTT's gone. FTX is gone. BlockFi's gone. Voyager's gone. Celsius is gone. They're all gone. And by the way, they went from there to gone within a year, because everybody was talking about them. Galaxy Digital's Mike Novogratz got a tattoo of Terra Luna's dog on his arm, and it collapsed 2 months later. And so I'm not saying that this is a top signal or a collapse signal. What I'm saying is this is a signal, right? In my view, this is a signal. They're all pushing money into Solana. They all did it in the last cycle, right? All the billionaires were pumping Solana. But I think that they were relying on, oh, Sam's going to create something out of Solana, and Sam didn't. It was just, a money suck from the ecosystem. And what did we get? 4 years later, meme coins, Haktua coin, and other celebrity coin pump and dumps. That's it. That's it. So now the billionaires are investing in this platform, right? I'm not saying Solana doesn't have fundamental technology, because they do. And there is a lot building on it. But again, they didn't do anything this cycle. They didn't give us the revolutionary technology or capabilities this cycle. And so this is a billionaire play. And you can see it right here. Because what are they building? Now they're trying to be, oh, well, we're going to be better than Ethereum. But they haven't proven that yet. And this was the cycle to prove it. Because as I've stated in previous cycles, you get 3 market cycle chance. 2 bear markets and a bull market, or 2 bull markets and a bear market. If you cannot produce fundamental technology, and a lot of cryptos have not. I mean, if you look at the top 10, top 20, top 30, XRP, they've promised a lot. They haven't really delivered all of it. Now, we're going to get to XRP in a minute. BNB, it's really siloed to the Binance ecosystem. That limits it. Dogecoin, I mean, what does Dogecoin actually do? Tron, we just showed you the DeFi chart. It looks terrible. Cardano, big disappointment across the board with a lot of, I just saw World Mobile is building on Solana. Like, what? World Mobile was a Cardano project. Cardano funded project. Cardano supported project. And when I say funded, maybe they were actually funded, but I mean like people were investing in the ecosystem. And they moved to Solana. Okay, like what? Hyper liquid, right? Hyper liquidation. They're not going to be around in a year. Chainlink, they should be in the top 10 for sure. Sui, what have they created? Solana competitor. There's no fundamental, but they're all trying to stay ahead of the curve. That's why we have a Solana treasury company and a Sui treasury company and a Solana treasury company. And this is, in my view, why we're seeing all of these billionaires pumping money into these other ecosystems. This is, in my view, a top signal, 100% a top signal. Because again, they're doing this at literal all-time record highs. Solana is at all-time record highs, $250, $260, that it hit this cycle. And so, I don't know, guys. It's just really not looking that good in terms of like the same sentiment and the same things that they did in the previous cycle. The billionaires, they're doing again. And in my view, this is a liquidity drain. I mean, look at what happened after we hit the top. This was in November of 2021. We went from $236 down 1 year later to $8. And I mean, this was even before the FTX collapse. We were at $40 from $240, right? That's a big, big drop. And so double top right here. And now the billionaires are buying literally at a double top. Tell me if that makes sense. I don't think it does. But meanwhile, this is another NASDAQ-listed company called Forward Industries. The ticker name is Ford. When I'm recording this video, right after the announcement, the stock is $37 million market cap. But keep in mind, they're going to dilute all of these shares. They're going to be pushing shares into the market cap. So the price will probably go down, and the market cap will go up. And that's because they're just adding shares to create the funding mechanism to then go buy all of this Solana. In my view, these are non-buys right now. Non-buys. Let Wall Street buy at all-time record highs. Let them do it. We're going to buy that dip. And I'm talking about not now, like next year in 2026, we're going to buy the dip. I don't know when. It may be in the middle of the year, maybe towards the end of the year, but we're going to buy that dip. And as we get closer, we will assess and figure that out. But right now we don't have to, because top of the market, guys, what you have to keep an eye out for is the bull trap, because there are going to be a lot going down. people are going to say, oh, that's the bottom. That's the bottom. I'm already seeing it. We haven't barely come down in the price in MicroStrategy and Bitcoin and Ethereum. All these coins have been pretty much going straight up. And maybe they'll continue, but I think that we are due for a correction, right? But every single time this happens, Bitcoin will come down $10,000 or $5,000. People will say, oh, that's it. That's the bottom. That's it. That is the bottom. No, it's not. We are going much, much, much lower. And by the way, I have a video clip from Michael Saylor, and I don't know, he looks way more, I don't know, it seems like he's not as excited. Like he's worried. And I don't know whether he's worried about just the sentiment, because sentiment can drive a stock price down precipitously, or whether he's nervous because he sees that all the buying that they're doing with Bitcoin is not pushing the price up. I mean, it has gone up. Don't get that incorrect. Like, we've gone up significantly, but I don't think it's gone up as high as he thought. And we'll get to that in just a few minutes here. But yeah, Ethereum Treasury Reserves, BitMine Immersion Technologies now has over 2 million Ethereum in their balance sheet. But again, if we look at these companies, look at SharpLink, and look at this 6-month chart, pump and dump, pump and dump. Now, obviously, we're higher from when they first made the announcement that they were going to be accumulating Ethereum. But you would imagine, right? This is the same thing with MicroStrategy. Why is the price going down, not going up? BitMine Immersion Technology, same thing. Pump, dump, pump, dump. These charts do not look good at all. I'm not a chartist, but when I see charts like this, and I see people on social media saying, oh, got to buy that dip, buy that dip, buy that dip, I'm like, y'all are not paying attention. The reason that you're seeing this is because the bulls are buying it up, but the company is selling. So you're buying directly from the company, and then they're going to buy the coin. And by the way, guys, people are saying, but Cryptoviser, retail, they're going to come and they're going to buy all the Bitcoin. They're going to push us up to $350,000. No, guys, retail is buying stocks. They're buying crypto stocks. And these companies are buying the coins. But they're not buying the coins from the open market. This cycle is different. I told my viewers, like when the ETFs got approved, the Bitcoin ETFs, I told y'all, I said, that's it. No more hyperbolic bull runs. It just cannot happen anymore, because they're going to build derivative products on top of it. They're going to build all of these other mechanisms to keep the price suppressed. And so while everyone's saying, but Cryptoviser, Wall Street loves the crypto. They keep buying crypto. They keep buying crypto. Right now they are. But they're not buying it on the open market. And I don't think that they're going to buy on the open market, because they know if they put a $2 billion buy on Coinbase, the price is going to go to $1 million, because there's not enough liquidity on Coinbase. That's why they're buying it directly from these institutions, like these long-term holders. I think that there's some kind of agreement with like Coinbase and Binance, where they have whales that they know are whales. And they say, listen, if we can get you, if we can sell 5,000 coins for you, will you take it? And the early investors are like, yeah, if you can find somebody that will pay me cash for 5,000 Bitcoin, I'll sell it to them. Even at a slight discount, they'll do it, because they know the liquidity will be there, and it won't necessarily be there if they do it on the open market. This is why we haven't seen the prices move. But meanwhile, I'm hearing also Cryptoviser, XRP ETF. Well, XRP ETF approval odds soar, but experts warn that demand is severely underestimated. Really, guys? First of all, I do believe that we're going to have Solana ETF, XRP ETF, any crypto ETF that you can think of, they're going to have it. But to think that there's this much demand for an ETF for XRP that does absolutely nothing, right? Ripple does not use XRP. Ripple sells XRP. This user, CryptoJack, said, just sold the rest of my Bitcoin for XRP. Thanks for the profits. Bitcoin time is over. It's time for XRP to take over. Guys, how can XRP take over when they're selling, that Ripple is selling billions? They have billions to sell. And so if these ETFs get approved, guess who they're going to be buying the XRP from? Not from you, from Ripple. And people are getting the price action really twisted because the price of XRP has only, it's really not gone up that much, right? This cycle. I mean, we went from 50 cents to where we are now, $3, right? That's a 6x. That's good. That's in line with Bitcoin's price movement because Bitcoin went from about 15,500 to 125,000. So between 5 and 8x. Same thing with XRP. But I remind you, in the last cycle, XRP did not have any price performance basically at all because of the lawsuit with the SEC. And so this, I think, was just a catch up from the last cycle, right? Once the SEC lawsuit was kind of behind us, boom, the price went up and recovered to where it should be. So we really, if you take into last cycle where the price should have moved compared to other cryptos in the last cycle, yeah, XRP really hasn't performed at all this cycle, at all. And so the XRP army are not, they don't seem to understand this. Not only that, they don't seem to understand where the XRP is coming from that's being dumped onto the market. Anyway, one guy who's a president of a wealth management company and co-founder of the ETF Institute, Nate Garachi, he took to social media X to suggest that approval odds may be even higher than market projections. He offered a more assertive stance that one implied by Polymarket's numbers at the close. He said, personally, I think the XRP ETF is close to 100%. People are severely underestimating investor demand for XRP and Solana ETFs, just like they did with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Well, Bitcoin they did, but I remind you, Ethereum ETFs seriously underperform Bitcoin ETFs from inflows perspective, and it has continued to underperform Bitcoin's inflows. Now, more recently, we've seen a lot more inflows, but when Ethereum ETFs first launched, it was very minimal interest, very, very minimal. And so, again, if Ripple is selling and Wall Street is buying, this is exactly what this user, Rajat, said. They want you to buy XRP while they sell it. And guys, it's not just us saying this. Like, even Brad Garlinghouse back in 2020 said Ripple would not be profitable without selling XRP. That was in 2020. And they haven't stopped selling since. They haven't stopped selling. Even according to a Masari State of the XRP Ledger report that came out just a few weeks ago at the end of August 2025, you can see right here, they talk about the escrows. And, okay, you can see right here. It says, on the XRP ledger, transaction fees are systematically burned, applying deflationary pressure to the total supply of 100 billion XRP. You guys know, coin burning is positive if you are a holder of the coin because it reduces the supply, and if the market cap stays the same, the price goes higher, right? So XRP ledger has a burn mechanism. Since the XRP ledger's inception, about 14 million XRP has been burned. This low burn rate is due relatively to low transaction fees on the network. Again, Ripple net is different than XRP. And XRP has these very low fees. So how is Ripple going to even make any money running the network if they're forcing the usage of XRP, which they're not? They can't. Counteracting the burn rate, 1 billion XRP is released from escrow to Ripple per month. Per month. Any XRP not spent by Ripple in that month is put into new escrow contracts to continue the escrow. This system will continue until the remaining 36.6 billion XRP become liquid. So this was posted just a few weeks ago. And if you go to the XRP ledger, right now it's 35.3 billion. So they've already sold, since this report was released, basically 1.3 billion coins. 1.3 billion coins times the price of XRP of $3 billion. Guys, do the math. 1.3 billion. It's $3.9 billion. That's what Ripple is extracting from the network since that report was written, and when we're watching how much coin are still escrowed on the network. How is that bullish? I don't get it. So this idea that like there's so much demand for XRP, guys, you could just go buy XRP right now. Why would you wait for an ETF? So I actually think that the ETF thing is very bearish. I think it's very, very bearish, and I think that that's going to it's going to only accelerate the downtrend in the market because retail, aka y'all, not people on my channel because you guys are way ahead, but you guys get it. Most people in crypto, they're not going to realize. They're going to say, oh my God, this is so bullish. I'm going to buy XRP today. I'm going to buy. Boom. Ripple selling it all to you. So the price just goes down. And they don't care because they're playing a much longer game. They're not playing a trade. Okay, these companies, these ETF providers, et cetera, these are long-term plays. So that's what I got to say about that. Meanwhile, Coin Bureau reported large holders have offloaded 115,000 Bitcoin in 30 days, the biggest since 2022. And what was 2022? The bear market rotation. That's exactly what it was. And so I've been telling my viewers this for months. Guys, they're selling. They're selling their coins. This is how MicroStrategy is acquiring so many coins, and this is why the price is barely moving, because people are selling. And if you're not selling, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss the boat. It's not the people who hold that are going to actually miss the boat. Sorry, the people that sell that are going to miss the boat. It's the people that hold that are missing the boat. Because you're missing the boat when the liquidity is there and when the prices are high, and then you can go sell lower. This idea that we're not going lower, this idea that we're not going to hit the purchase dollar cost average of MicroStrategy at 73,000, this is ridiculous. Meanwhile, Michael Saylor is on CNBC just a few days after we heard no inclusion in the S&P 500. And you know what Michael Saylor said? He said that they did not expect to be included in the S&P 500 anyway. Rug pulled. Rug pulled on every single person that really, really believed that MicroStrategy was going to be in the S&P 500 just because they just because they met the eligibility and said that they made $10 billion in profit. Where's the profit? They wouldn't have to raise money to buy more Bitcoin if they actually made $10 billion in profit. And so to all of the holders, to all of the maximalists, to all of the people who are 100% deployed in MicroStrategy, that doesn't concern you? If I was a holder of MicroStrategy and I was not an analyst like what we do, because I told you guys they were not going to be included. It has nothing to do with Michael Saylor or MicroStrategy. It's just this to do with the fact that their strategy of Bitcoin accumulation as a business model, it hasn't been proven yet. And so they're not going to do it just yet. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, to be honest. But if I was anticipating it, and he really didn't think that that wasn't even a focus for them. And then I hear that they didn't get included. And he's like, oh, well, we weren't even expecting to be included. I would be out of that investment that second. Overnight trading, I would be out. I'd be out. Because at that point, you realize that you're investing not based on the fundamentals, not based on the data, based on hopes and prayers. And that's not a way to invest. Let's listen to exactly what Michael Saylor said here. She asked like a 5-minute question about it, but then let's listen to what he says. And it's basically asking about, the MicroStrategy not getting included in the S&P 500. And by the way, if you're up to this point in the video, don't forget to give the video a free thumbs up. I upload every single day to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. These are just my opinions and analysis on the market. And I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Let's listen in.
I don't think we expected to be selected on our first quarter of eligibility. We figure it'll happen at some time. There's a digital transformation in the markets. This is a brand new novel concept. Every quarter, we make new believers. We get more support from banks, from politicians, from credit rating agencies, et cetera. I think that will continue for the foreseeable future.
But the deal is, guys, the trade is not Bitcoin. I mean, it's not MicroStrategy, it's Bitcoin. Like if you are investing in MicroStrategy, just buy Bitcoin, buy a Bitcoin ETF, because there is no doubt in my mind, no doubt that maybe not now, maybe not in a month, maybe not in a year, but this MNAV will compress to 1, if not go below it. And if you don't believe it, go look at Metaplanet, go look at any of the other Bitcoin treasury companies with a high MNAV. They have to keep selling shares in the open market. They are not making enough raising money in these alternative investments that they have. They're not making enough. And so the past, since they changed their MNAV guidance in August from we're not going to sell anything under 2.5 MNAV to we're going to just keep selling shares in the open market, they have, right? People like the MSTR bulls, I actually do think that they're like 90% bots. I don't think these are actual people because, guys, everything is bullish to them. Michael Saylor said they're not going to sell shares in the open market. It's bullish. But then he changes and says they are going to sell open shares. That's also bullish because then he could buy more Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin's going down. That's bullish. He could buy more. Price of Bitcoin going up. Well, that's bullish because the price of Bitcoin's going up. Can't get any investments in any of these debt facilities. That's okay. That's bullish. I mean, everything cannot be bullish, right? Everything cannot be bullish. And with the anticipation, okay, of the inclusion in the NASDAQ and the selling, you could literally see on the market the last 3 weeks when they were selling the shares because the price just straight down. There was no support. There was no support. And so he's going to keep doing it. Same way Ripple's going to keep selling their XRP. And the bulls are going to ignore it. They're going to tell you, no, that's bullish. XRP selling, Ripple selling their XRP to Wall Street, that is the most bullish thing in the world, Cryptoviser. How can you not be bullish? Okay, but tell me how it's going to impact the price. Tell me how it's going to impact the valuation. Tell me how it's not becoming a single point of failure for Bitcoin. Because if the Bitcoin, by the way, the bulls, they don't even take into account that Bitcoin price can go down. They're just like, oh no, there's no way MicroStrategy price is going to go down. There's no way. I'm like, well, what if Bitcoin drops by 50%? They're like, what? You said, you think Bitcoin's going to drop by 50%? Well, that's bullish. That's bullish for MicroStrategy. Remember, everything is bullish to them. They cannot see this market for what it is. They're trading the market they want, not the market in front of them. And in my view, that is a mistake. And we're already starting to see the people realizing that they got caught up in where we were in the cycle, which was the euphoria stage. Because when you can't see the very simple and obvious things, Ripple is selling the XRP. When Wall Street starts buying, they're going to be buying it directly from Ripple, which number one is offloading the coins, and two, doesn't even use the coins. Yeah, but Cryptoviser, it's bullish. That's the response. And so when I hear that, right, and by the way, not just on this channel, right, in everyday conversation, and I told my viewers, when I got the call, hey, Cryptoviser, where do I invest? What should I invest in? I was like, oh yeah, the bull market's over. Like the minute I got that call, I was like, I got to call you back. I was shocked. But guess what? I was right. Because all this other stuff is now going on with the maximalists in the ecosystem that can't even see that the price of Bitcoin has no support. The price of MicroStrategy, no support. They keep selling shares on the open market. All of the coins and all of the metrics are showing us that people are offloading what they have in DeFi, in staking. They're all selling. Now, granted, they may be selling their coins and then getting the stock from the company that they're selling it to. So it's kind of like a transfer of one value to another. But the point is that they want the money, right? This idea that, oh no, Ethereum is going to be the money of the world. I'm only going to pay with Ethereum for everything the rest of my life. Like, guys, that's not realistic, right? I mean, when the euro is worth more than the dollar, people arb trade that. When the dollar is more than the euro, people arb trade that. And these are just other currencies. Right now, everybody's looking at gold. Oh my God, gold reached all-time record highs. Everyone wants to buy it now at all-time record highs. They didn't want to buy it a year ago or 2 years ago. They want to buy in now when it's at all-time record highs. They want to buy Ethereum at all-time record highs. Yeah, but Cryptoviser. Ethereum is not at its peak. There's no way. And I also listened to a few spaces and like podcasts on YouTube where there were a lot of people saying, oh, but I feel like we are not even in euphoria. We have one more pump up. This is the same thing like extended cycle. Like everybody's just going to get their final pump. I've been telling my viewers since the beginning of the year, we have one more pump left. The pump is over. We have been going down since. There may be one more pump, but as we go up in that pump, right, we get to $130,000, $140,000. These same people who are like, oh no, we have one more pump, they're going to be like, yeah, we're going to hit 200,000. And even if we get to like 190, 195,000, they're like, oh, now we're going to hit 300,000. Meanwhile, they were just saying one more pump. And then they're in the pump and they're like, oh no, we just got a little bit more to go. Just a little bit more to go. It's like, what? The market is not going to trade the way you want it to trade. The market is going to trade the way the market trades. And that's why I always say, like, trade the market in front of you, not the market you want. Ethereum hit all-time record highs. And there's people like, yeah, but Cryptoviser, it's not that high. It's like, that's not how it works. It hit the all-time record high. It's the all-time high, period. You may not like what that high is, what that number is, but it's the all-time record high. Just because it didn't hit your target doesn't mean that the cycle's not over. Now, I'm not saying I'm 100% correct here, because I could be wrong, and I've said over and over, the prices can go much higher than where we are. But we're seeing less and less strength to the upside. And we need more strength to the downside to then get more strength to the upside. And I think we will see that at some point. But for now, it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think about XRP, MicroStrategy, the Ethereum treasury companies, Solana treasury companies, Mike Novogratz investing in Forward Industries with a $1.65 billion Solana treasury raise. Again, all-time record highs. Think about it. All these billionaires, they want out of Solana. They want out. They've been in Solana for years. And it's been going up and down and up and down. It's doing the same thing to them. They want $1,000 Solana, and they haven't gotten it. So now, offload their coins to Wall Street and let Wall Street deal with it. And that's what they're doing. End of the cycle. Let me know if you agree down below. If you don't, I'd love to know why. Like, what catalyst, what market sentiment are you seeing that making you bullish? And maybe I'll change my viewpoint and my thesis based on some of these comments. Let me know down below in the comments. I'll see you guys on the next video. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Check out my other videos. And I'll see you when I see you. Crypto on.